So I have the pleasure of having Akua with me today. How are you doing?
Hey, Catherine. Thank you so much. I am so excited. Hello,
And I
hello.
pronounce, did I pronounce your name right?
Yep. No, yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So Akua is in the financial literacy space. And we met, I believe you reached out to me, I think.
Yes.
And it's just been a pleasure to know you. I had the opportunity to be on her podcast, Dim Coins, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But I just wanted to ask you, what would you call yourself in the financial space? People say that they're a financial activist, they say that they're an advocate, they say that they're an educator. Where do you think you fall?
Yeah. I think I'm still in the early processes of sort of establishing kind of who I am in this space. Because I got started on my podcast um almost 2 years now. And so I would say I think I serve as the motivator. I mean, I think that's where I thrive. I've got a lot of energy. I come from a performing arts background, so I'm a bit more animated than most people. So I think I serve really well as an encourager. I'd say,
An
yeah.
encourager. Yeah, I would say the same for me. I know sometimes when people ask me that, I'm like, not sure because I'm not a certified financial planner. I don't have
Right.
all of those things behind my name, but I do know that I am enthusiastic. I definitely want to motivate and encourage in this space. So I think we probably fall in all of those: an activist, an advocate, an educator, all of those things. So, why is being in the financial space important to you?
Yes. So there's and the shift is happening. We're seeing it, right? Like with the awareness of personal finance. But I find that especially with people of faith, is that we pray, we pray, we pray, we pray, we pray, but we don't really have the know-how when it comes to stewardship. And so I think that's sort of where my heart lies. It's really my target audience, the people who are like good people, you because there's always like this misperception, like, oh, like people with a lot of money, they out here scamming, they scheming. But like there's also another coin to that, where there's a lot of really good people with good hearts after God, and like are making good money. And so when I got exposed to these people and in this space, I think that it opened my eyes. And so I hope to, open everyone's eyes. Like, hey, this is possible. My little tagline is like, get to the bag and keep your integrity intact. Like, so you can have both.
That's wonderful. And I heard you say on one of your podcasts that the first person that you met who was financially independent, I think you said you met them in high school. Can you tell me just a little bit about that encounter?
Yes, yes. That is still actually they're a husband and wife couple, Michael and Michelle Lynn. Shout out to them. So in high school, I went to a Catholic high school, and Catholic high school is a private high school, so it costs money. And so my parents didn't have that money. So I was a part of a scholarship, and they were my mentors in that scholarship. And I'll never forget one time I was over at their house, and they have this big, beautiful loft with like 25 feet ceilings. And like, it's just this amazing place I was like coming to. And Michael took me over to to their computer, and he showed me their stock portfolio. And I remember at the time their child was maybe 3 years old and easily had six figures. And I was like, how do we do this? And so he literally walked me through opening an account, buying my first set of shares. And so that was sort of the gateway into learning about personal finance. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely wonderful. I know that would have been like, whoa, to me, because anytime someone is talking about finances, I just lighten up. I don't know what it is, or brighten up rather. I just love talking about it. So then when you think about like the early days for you, your initial financial education, what you learned from your family and your parents, what was that for you?
Yes. So with my parents, I have, typical like immigrant parents. And so um it's very similar to a lot of people, where specifically with my dad, like savings were really emphasized. And then my dad got into a little bit of real estate, but then the crash happened. So he like got a little jaded and like didn't invest ever again. And so there's always been kind of like this sort of tug of war when it comes to investing. Saving has always been like kind of common sense, with the way I grew up, but it's been investing that's been a bit more of a tug to get into on a consistent basis, right? So when I got in high school and I opened my brokerage account and I was trading some things and I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool. And I didn't know the value of it. So I would like sell off all my stuff and like go buy, shoes at the mall, like do dumb stuff, because I didn't have the right mindset. And so like now I'm at a point where the know-how and the mindset and, it's all like coming together, slowly but surely it is coming together.
So you said that you were trading in high school. So like,
Oh, well, I should probably clarify that. I
okay,
was just investing. Like I wasn't trading. Like I wasn't,
okay,
stock option. I wouldn't do none of that. No. Yeah.
okay, but you were
I was just buying and
investing in,
holding. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
was that from what you learned from the mentor? Did you have classes regarding that? How did you even know? I mean, I know you said he told you how to set up your brokerage account, but how did you make the decision on what to invest in, all of those kinds of things?
I'm laughing about it because literally I didn't really have like a real plan with it. So what would happen with me, this is before I knew about, lovely index funds and all those all those great funds. And so I would literally be like, oh, I heard about this on TV. Let me watch this for a little bit. Like, for instance, I remember one time I was watching a PGA tournament and Waste Management was sponsoring it. I'm like, the people who pick up trash, they're publicly traded. Okay, let's buy it. And like, I would just see things and be like, oh, okay, they look like this looks like a sustainable business. Let me just buy it. And that's literally how I got started.
So then did you move into, oh, well, like, how did you educate yourself? Did you do it yourself? Did you take a course? What was that process like for you?
Yeah, a lot of it was sort of self-education because after I like set up the account, but I was, pulling money out when I would make a little bit of gains to buy stuff. So I wasn't true to the long-term strategy that my mentor was trying to instill in me. but but eventually I got into a place where I was a struggle bus artist and I was driving Lyft full time and my funds were awful. I was struggling. And so that made me curious about financial education. And really it was YouTube that like in my mid 20s, like it came from YouTube. I was watching, Minority Mindset and like who are some of these other big people. Now I watch a lot of Our Rich Journey, those guys. So like, yeah, so really a lot of it, Graham Stephan was really big influence on me. So I watched a lot of those people when I was, in my mid 20s, trying to figure out, okay, like, but how do I do this like for the long term?
Right. How do I make it sustainable?
Mm-hmm.
And so then you said you were a struggling artist and then you were a Lyft driver. Can you tell us just a little bit about that part of the journey for you?
Woo, okay. So I was working in tech at a job that I absolutely hated. Hated every minute of it. I hated 90% of the people. And I said, you know what? I gotta follow my dreams. And it's now or never, you you getting your feelings. And I quit on the spot with no plan. And I said, hey, listen, I'm going to drive Lyft full time. I've crunched the numbers. I've figured it out. And this is sustainable and it will allow me the flexibility to go to auditions and do all this jazz. Well, as as fate would have it, the moment I stopped working full time, all of a sudden I wasn't getting any auditions. I didn't have any shows going on. The well just dried. And I was like, and so I'm waking up in the morning and like trying to drive Lyft and, and there's a lot of sort of invisible costs that come with that when it comes to like the maintenance of your vehicle. My tires, for some reason, it felt like every other week there was something going on with my tires. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so, yeah, I was just in this really, really like bad place. And I thought, I don't know what to do, but I know that I need to get my finances in order. I had a little bit of, credit card debt and just not a fun time. And, yeah, was not making as much as I thought I would. So, yeah.
Okay. And so then that propelled you to seek out, to go to the YouTubes and all that kind of thing
Right.
to learn how to do money. And so then I know that like on your Instagram, you say that you want to help millennials of faith get clarity on what they value and then crush their financial goals. So why specifically millennials?
Yes. So I feel like millennials kind of get a bad rap, This can be like, oh, all they want to do, they don't have, they can't buy houses because they're drinking, $5 lattes and all this, little crazy stuff about millennials. But we're good, man. We're figuring this thing out, okay? And with social media, we're figuring out in front of the world, so it can be a little challenging, right? So I just wanted to show millennials some love. We can do it. I am a millennial, so I figured why not target my people.
That's wonderful. And you know what? I agree. They do get a bad rap sometimes because I am not a millennial. I'm probably 20 years ahead of millennials. And I know I've even said, oh, these millennials just blah, blah, blah. And it just becomes something you say without really thinking about it. But I have some millennials that are my family members, and I know that they're good people. I know that they're working hard and they're trying to figure it out. And I think you just made an excellent point. They're figuring it out on social media. They're figuring it out in front of everybody. Now, what I can say as an old person is, why y'all got to put all of it out there? Do you got to share everything? There's some stuff I don't necessarily need to know, but I get it. I get it. That's the culture. So then you're going through, you're on YouTube and you're on, doing your own research. So then how does Dim Coins develop? Where does that come from?
Yeah. So, like, again, I felt like people of faith really didn't have sort of a landing spot in the financial space. And I just wanted to create like a safe space for us to explore, to have fun, and to learn about money, and also to allow for flexibility, because I also find that in the financial space, if someone has success doing one thing, they're like, everybody should be doing it. And I wanted to be like, stop. Let's, consider what I've coined financial self-awareness, right? So I've got like 5 keys of like financial awareness. So like when you're deciding on the trajectory you want to take with your career, with your life, with your money, there's sort of 5 things that I think you should take into consideration. So like the first one is, what are your true values, right? The things that you care about, not what your mom told you to care about, not what your dad told you to care about. What are the things that you find important in your life? And then distinguishing the difference between your skills, your passions, and your gifts. Now, this was a big thing for me, because I had to realize that while acting was fun, in this season of my life, it was not going to be my money maker. So I did a real big career shift, and basically I got back into tech because ultimately when I was bettering myself with financial education, I realized you can only save so much money. Like you got to live, you can only save so much money. And so I really focused on increasing my income. And I refer to this as the golden ticket when you're like a Michael Jordan, where like the number one thing you like to do is also your moneymaker. You know, the Drakes, the I don't know, CCY. I don't know. I'm just thinking like random because I'm saying celebrities because that's, you know, who most people are familiar with. But for many of us, that's not the case. And so it's okay to have these hobbies, but a lot of us put a lot of energy into thinking that this is the thing that is going to bring in money for me and my family when it's not. And so distinguishing, okay, I can still do this on the side and it can be a passion, but I also need to realize that I may never make a dime from this and I have to be okay with that because I got my moneymaker over here. So it gives you a lot of freedom in that way. And then the other three are your goals. Again, not what, you know, someone on YouTube tells you should be your goals, you know, what you actually want. You know, is financial freedom something that you, or financial independence, is that something that you actually really care about? Things like that. Your risk tolerance is the fourth one, because, oh, this market testing a lot of people's risk tolerance right now. And so do you have the stomach for it? You know, should you be a little more bond heavy versus stock heavy? All those sorts of things. And then the last one is the sacrifices that you're willing to make. You know, there's some people that will eat beans and rice for a year if it means they can purchase a house within that year. Some people are like, I need to live. Like, let's spread this out. It may take me 3 years, but I'm okay with that. So those are the types of sort of core concepts that I like to talk about on the podcast.
Yes, and I've heard you talk about just keeping it simple. Why do you think that's important?
Yeah. So I'm a bit type A. I write out everything. Schedule everything. Like, I'm a writer, I'm a journaler. So like I can get a little caught up in the weeds, caught in the details. And especially when you are first tracking your finances, it can be a little like daunting. You got like 100 categories for things, and it's like, yeah, okay, this is discretionary. Here's bills. Here, you know, like just simplify it for yourself. And as much as you can automate, as much as you can automate. I know it's a little scary for some of us because like, oh, what if they change my bill? Listen, have the system in place. You will thank yourself later.
That's for sure. And I know me, I came up in the era where this was before spreadsheets, or at least before I was introduced to spreadsheets. So I had a legal size piece of paper that I took a ruler, drew the lines, and made my own made my own spreadsheet. And I did that after I had missed a bill. And I was just so angry with myself because I was like,
Mhm.
how did I miss that? And so, in order to not miss it again, I made that spreadsheet for myself. And I eventually came into the 21st century and put it on put it on an Excel spreadsheet. And I still use that spreadsheet today. Like, I don't have any fancy app, and there's wonderful apps out there that people can use.
Mhm.
But for me, that keeps it simple. And then the automation piece is key.
Mhm.
I agree wholeheartedly. The automation piece is key. So you said something on one of your podcasts, and I agree with it so much. So the sexy thing in the finance space is talking about investing, right?
Mhm.
Why I think it's very important. But for me, my stance is you got to have all your basics together first, right? So, can you talk to us a little bit about that and why that's sexy and what you've learned or the questions that people ask you about investing?
Yeah, and it's again, it is part of social media, right? Like, and when you get behind, you know, the emperor has no clothes. When you get behind, you know, closed doors, you'll find that over 80% of people phonies. And so, but it can be very challenging, right? Because we are in, you know, the age of, because of social media, we're in the age of like luxury and in the black, you know, the black woman luxury movement, and all that is great. Again, like you said, if you have your ducks in a row. So that foundation starts up here in the mind. The word tells us to renew our minds daily for a reason, because we come into contact with so much gunk. And like, again, getting back to the true values and what are your actual goals? What does God have for you, set out for you to do in this life? Because you can be infiltrated with, what these people do, and that looks cool and that looks cool. But ultimately getting down to the fundamentals, and really the fundamentals is living within your means and creating automatic systems. That is not the sexy part. That's not, Dogecoin to the moon and all this other, and that's fine if you got some play money and you want to take riskier investments, but ultimately you have to be saving more than, you have to be consistently saving and have more than what you have to put out for bills and those other necessities.
Right, and what you're spending. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, and just sort of the impulsive nature with the one click checkouts and like, pay now, buy now, pay laters, and all those things. We really have to keep our impulses in check and really be long-term minded. It doesn't mean you don't have fun, but it just means that foundation has to be there.
For sure. And so then what about investing? What tip would you give someone listening today about investing?
Okay. Yeah, because there's a lot of different things you can do, because number one, investing in yourself, right? That's that's something to take into consideration. But I also, I talked about this on my last podcast episode, is a lot of us don't need the fancy courses and all this sort of stuff, because a lot of us don't even have the foundation. But with investing, you have to make your money grow or else you are losing money. And we're seeing this now with high inflation. You cannot survive if your money is not growing for you and beating out inflation. So the easiest way, get into funds that follow the S&P 500, which is essentially just the top 500 performing companies. Get index funds and just get diversified and get into the habit of naturally having those automatic funds being put into, your 401k or your Roth or whatever, or your just standard brokerage account. Get into that flow of just naturally putting the money in and letting it be, putting the money in and letting it be. And then once you get into that flow, then you can kind of get into some of the other, sort of juicier stuff if your risk tolerance, if you can handle it, right? So when we talk about, stock option trading and things like that and swing trading, those are things that you will need, courses and advanced training on. I wouldn't recommend just like just playing with your own money, but again, do you have your emergency fund set? Are your bills on auto pay? Do you, so getting that foundation, and then, you can get into the funner, or, the things we think are the funner things, real estate and that sort of thing. But even with real estate, I mean, you can get into it now, get into a REIT, you don't need thousands of dollars to invest in a REIT. I think I have a REIT right now, and I think it's like $70 a share or something like that. So like,
And can you explain what a REIT is?
Oh yes, a REIT is real estate investment trust. So basically, it's kind of like well, it's not an index fund, I wouldn't say that, but basically, it's a collection of real estate companies in one fund. So again, it helps with diversification, right? So you're not just into like Berkshire Hathaway or something like that. There's a collection of real estate companies, that are doing good work. And so you get to get a piece of everyone's little pie. And so that's another way. Yeah.
And I like that. I'm sorry. I like that because it does help you diversify. And for some people, like I have been a landlord before. So, that's not really what some people want to do. It's so funny. Like me and my brother were like all into that. And my sister was like, no, thank you. No, I don't want to be a part of that.
It's a lot.
Um,
Mhm.
it's a lot, and so it's not, and so that is another way to invest in real estate is to invest in a REIT. So that, and I'm sorry I cut you off, but
Oh no, that was, yeah, that's where I was going. Is it's easy money. I mean, you just set it there, you don't touch it. Because yeah, and again, yeah, with being a landlord, I mean, ooh, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot.
there is a lot. I have been a landlord. I've had excellent tenants, and I've had tenants who had challenges, and we had to go through the process of eviction. And that's not fun because you don't want to
Mhm.
do that to anyone, but then it is a business. So,
Right.
you have to, so yeah, there has been so many things I have been through in this in these financial streets,
Right.
on the positive side and on the negative side. And I think that's where me and you are kind of like kindred. It's like we want to share with people the opportunities that they have, but also let them know about the pitfalls that may be there, and then the options that they have,
Mhm.
and to keep it simple. I really do think that keeping it simple is so very important. And so, one of the things that I do, of course, is affirmations, and that's the whole mindset piece. Can I do this? Can I, something as basic as, can I manage my finances? Yes, you can. And so one of the podcasts that I did recently is sometimes people are scared to look at their credit, they're scared to look at things. And it's like you have to look at it so that you'll know what to do, and if
Yep.
it's horrible, now I know it's horrible.
Yeah.
So now I can get the steps to doing what I need to. So I want you to speak to two people, to affirm two people. The first person is the one who is having challenges in their financial journey. How would you affirm them? The second is someone who is doing okay and they've kind of gotten everything together and now they're wondering what the next steps are. Can you affirm those two people today?
Okay. So for my struggle bus people, know that this is temporary. It's a moment in time, because I get it. When you're if you're like me, you're pulled over on the side of the road and you're crying in your car, and you're like, what is happening? It can feel like it's going to be like this forever. And I can say that it's not. My favorite Bible verse, like I'm like considering getting it tattooed, but people told me to get a tattoo. But I felt my favorite scripture is Romans 8:28. All things work for the good of them that love the Lord and for those that are called according to his purpose. Um, that period was painful, but uh, so much was learned and so much was gained. And I really needed to be humbled in that period of my life, looking back. And so I would say start with what you have. But if you are in a state where you're finding that I literally, like, after I pay my bills, I don't have anything, then focus on increasing your income. Now, with that, there's a lot of ways to increase your income. Look to God and look to the Holy Spirit to guide you on this, because I don't want you spinning your circles doing a bunch of things that other people tell you to do, like, oh, start a side hustle, do that. Uh-uh. What is that thing that you do better than everyone else, and you do it with fair ease, right? Look for those things and begin to and if you need to make investments in terms of like maybe getting more training and things like that, then do that in that area once you have that bit of confirmation. But again, I understand that sometimes, like, it's like, oh, it's easy for you to say this and this and this, but yeah, you can only save so much. You can only do so much at a certain point. So if you are in a bind where it's like, I can't do anything outside of my bills, focus on increasing the income. Focus on that. And stay prayed up so that you don't end up doing a bunch of things that look good, but are not in alignment with what God has for you. And then for the people on the flip side who are a little more level. And I'm sorry, it's really funny because as I'm speaking to you, one of my affirmations popped up because I have alarms for affirmations on my phone. That's what that ding was, and it said, "Sis, you are a royal priesthood. Act like it." I was like, that's one of my affirmations. So I thought that was really cool. But yeah, keep that in mind as well. But for people who are in a good spot, have your stuff automated. Yeah, now you can do some fun stuff. So again, look at what you want. Do you think you need a break? Take a nice little break, take a little trip, do you need a break? Do you need a reset? Do you want to upskill? Do you have play money? You know what? I can start this side hustle, you know what I'm saying? Like, see what happens. I can, experiment with options trading and swing trading, so tap into those things that kind of interest you, from before, whether it's, real estate or those things that are maybe a bit more risky, but that have always interested you. And now you can go ahead and, try out some of those things that excite you a bit.
That is great, great information to have. Can you do me one favor? You talked earlier about the 5 keys of financial awareness. Can you give me those 5 again?
Yeah, sure. So the first one is knowing your true values, differentiating between your skills, your passions, and your gifts. What are your goals, your your risk tolerance. Wow, try saying that 5 times. And the last one, the sacrifices you're willing to make.
And I wanted to end with that because I think that that is a place that we all need to get through. And if we can go through those steps, I think we'll get to where we want to be. And it kind of couples with, I'm thinking about like a mindfulness practice that I have that talks about first breathing, getting quiet, reflecting, and resetting. And I think with those 5 principles that you just listed, you can really go through those 5 principles along with that mindfulness practice and get to where you need to be. So, Akua, I just want to thank you so very much for your time today. I thank you for your energy. And for those of you in the show notes, it'll have the link to her podcast and all the information where you can find her at Dim Coins. I love it because she is just very practical, very everyday person who's going through it like you're going through it. And so thank you again, Akua, for your time.
Thank you so much, Katherine. Thank you.